Welcome once again to ICT Lectures. In today's lesson, we are going to look at the various etiquettes in regards to email communication. Ideally, it's very important for us to observe the various ethics when you are using email for communication purposes. Now, you are aware that nowadays people use email a lot, maybe to communicate or send messages which could be very confidential. So it is with this respect that we need to understand the various email etiquette tips. So if you're joining us for the very first time, I feel welcome and I hope you're going to enjoy the rest of this particular lesson. All right, thanks. Hi Lana, hello and welcome once again to Lana's Coach. So today we're going to look at the essential email etiquette tips. These are just some principles or guidelines on how we should communicate using emails, right? So as we are aware that mostly nowadays we are using email for communication purposes, and it's actually ideal for us to understand how best then can we use this particular platform to professionally communicate with one another across the globe. So ideally, email etiquette can also be referred to as an etiquette. This is communication that often happen over a given network. So when we refer to email an etiquette, that simply means that you're communicating over the network or internet for that matter. So it's very important that we understand actually the various principles that should guide us on how we need to communicate using email. So yes, of course, email has some kind of advantages that comes along with it. We don't really despise that. It offers a very quick way of communicating with one another. It's easier to write an email and maybe just click on send and it goes. It also saves us from the harsh environmental or climatic change. So people nowadays don't really cut trees and process paper. We do emails a lot, right? And in the long run, it can be seen as a very cheap option. So we have a lot of goodness that comes with emails. But on the other hand, it also poses some kind of challenges that we need to understand, right? Like it has really cut off the face-to-face communication. So nowadays, you just pull up your keyboard and then type and then send without really facing the your recipient. And of course, it's the procedure is almost robotic, right? So you just do some kind of procedures, you type, and then as a matter of fact, you click send. So it also becomes so impersonal, right? So there's no that personal touch with the person you're communicating with. This may end up to miscommunication, whereby someone will feel maybe that there's some kind of tonal variations, or rather there's some you send an email with some kind of language that is not appropriate to the recipient, right? So this could pose some kind of miscommunication. So if you are there face to face, you could have really curbed this particular issue. And then also we can't depend on technology 100%. More often than not, technologies tend to fail. So maybe it can take time before the email arrives to the destination. So these are some of the problems. I haven't even mentioned about the malicious programs that often hijack our email and maybe change the content, right? So there are a lot of issues when it comes to using email. And of course, we just want to concentrate on the various procedures on how we can use this particular email for communication. So how do we then improve our communication using email? So these are some of the helpful tips in summary. So you have to do some kind of spell and grammar check before you send your email. Very important. That those people who really don't like having those particular grammar errors, so you have to correct them. Of course, you need to address this particular email to a specific recipient, right? We're going to look at maybe how you can do some kind of BCC, of course CCC. It's very important to use formal way of writing these email, because you need to distinguish: are you communicating with your peers, are you communicating with your supervisor, with your lecturer? So you need to really distinguish when to use formal characters, or you want to use informal characters when you are writing. And of course, append a signature at the end of your email. It's very, very professional, right? So that it includes the essential information about your location, phone number, address, and so on. Then you have to go straight to the point. Be very specific on what you want the recipient to do and how it should be done, so that you don't waste a lot of time typing a lot of content without really being very specific. And of course, the attachments that you attach also should be relevant with the, with the email body. So don't attach irrelevant content that are not in line with what you are talking about. And of course, as a matter of fact, avoid slang and text writing, right? So you have to be cautious of who you are writing this email to, because those people don't understand maybe what we refer to as the text speak, right? So you have to be very, very keen when you're using these particular languages. And of course, try to summarize your email. Don't write a lot of or don't reintroduce different topics within an email, right? Just be very specific and kindly summarize your email so that at least everything can appear within one single screen, or rather page, right? So how do we then avoid misunderstandings, right? What we need to do is that remember that messages may be missed, that is given, they can be ignored, lost, or forgotten, right? So sometimes more can be accomplished in a telephone call rather than writing 100 emails. So kindly, to avoid misunderstanding, try to avoid also typing in all caps, right? It's not really a good picture, right? Also give credit to those who are deserving for it, right? Also you can quote them. Remember that you don't have complete confidentiality. Once you click send, then it is this goes online, and of course people can be able to tap into that email, as they can be able to view, especially the hackers can use the malwares, right, and so on. So of course, as you write, ensure that you don't really capture a very, very important or confidential information. So you have to use other additional tools like encryption and so on. So always reread before hitting send, right? Of course, this is going to help you avoid grammar errors, spelling errors, and so on. Be aware of who you place within the to field, right? Say we have separate fields. We have the to field, we have the BCC field, we have the CC field, and so on. So who are you sending this email, and who are you copying, and so on, right? So also avoid over using the reply to all, right? It's very, very important that when you are writing your email, it's who do you want exactly to get a copy of this particular email when you are responding. Do you want to copy everyone who is attached to that particular conversation, or you want to reply to the specific sender? So you have to be very, very careful when you're using the reply and the reply all, and of course when you're using the CC and the BCC, right? As I'd mentioned earlier, do not use email to discuss confidential information. Why? Nothing is private when you are using internet, right? And of course, do not divulge your username and password to others. Very, very, very important. So, well, what is BCC? Because this is often some terminologies that people don't know when or what they mean, and what and when to use them, for instance, right? So BCC here stands for blind copy carbon, and CC stands for carbon copy. Now, ideally, a carbon copied recipients will not be visible to anyone but the sender. A case scenario is whereby an interviewer wants to shortlist people for an interview. So if the interviewer doesn't want other people to know who else has been shortlisted, the best approach is to use what? The BCC. So it should not be used as a spying device, but only to protect the privacy of email addresses. So it is it's some kind of ethical perception anyway, right? When you come to CC, more than one addresses can be in this field separated by commas. Yeah, so usually used when others are referenced in the email, or for those who want included in that particular conversation. So this when you CC someone, people can always see who has been copied. So that is actually the difference between BCC and CC. So know when to use the CC and know when to use the BCC. So there's this snapshot that shows an example of how CC and BCC is used, right? So in our case, this message is sent to Ashley Miller, and it is CC'd to Janet Costa and Nina Myers, and of course BCC to Julie Ann Sankala. So you can say that how we apply the use of CC and BCC, right? So we need also to be wise with some words. So don't forget to include your country as part of your signature. You see, when you append the signature, it's very, very important to tell the recipient maybe your location matters a lot, your area code, your phone number, the essential information that the recipient or the reader of this particular email might want from you. Even if you have a website URL, you can even append it there. And of course, also use some kind of scanning mechanism to protect you from the viruses. Avoid listing your email address in publicly available directories, and avoid replying to spam. Spam is actually a challenge when it comes to email communication. People refer to them as unwanted mail, right? So the more you associate yourself with the spam, the more they end up landing into wrong hands, right? And you know what will result into that. So send the right message. How do you achieve this? Avoid abbreviation and emoticons, right? People often don't understand what this emoticon means. So, and abbreviations, what I normally refer to as the text speak, right? So just be formal. That is the procedure when you're using email for communication. And know your audience. Once you understand your audience, is it your lecturer? Is it your colleague at work? Once you understand your audience, it is going to help you understand which particular language style that you're going to use, right? And of course, spelling, grammar, punctuations, those ones are some things that really distort the message. So ensure that at least you run some spell and grammar tool. Be very, very factual. Try to separate facts from opinions. Be focused on the facts alone when you're presenting your message within the email, right? So your most important statement should appear in the first paragraph. Ideally, we don't have time to waste. Email, people are busy reading hundreds and hundreds of emails. So the earlier you present your main agenda, the better. So ensure that the first two lines should maybe address the reason as to why you are sending this particular email. And as a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget the greeting and the closing remarks. Dear so and so, and yours faithfully, and so on. So, right? Now, we have said that email always faces some kind of challenges. So it might not be the best option anyway, but yes, we need to use it. It poses a challenge when your tone is misinterpreted, for that matter, right? Especially when you use all caps, and when you don't know how to use the passive and the active tones. So it becomes a little bit of a challenge. We have I know friends who have been fired, some have been demoted, some have lost clients just because of their email tone, right? So also try not to insult or criticize via email, right? Don't avoid that. Better still, you can arrange on a face-to-face engagement so that you sort out this particular issue. So also, when you reply to an email, you must include the original email in your reply. It's very, very important for continuity of conversation, so that those people who are CC'd in the process or CC'd in the process get to understand how the conversation started, right? So emails must tone and body language. So they don't present the real emotions from people, right? So note that best impressions actually does provide lasting impressions. So don't overuse urgent, important, right, or high priority option, right? Consider the fact that sometimes this particular uh, email could land into someone's inbox, and they might not have time to read all of them. So when you overuse that, actually you are also ensuring that this particular recipient gets glued to the screen opening all these, just to find that they are not as urgent as mentioned. So keep your language gender neutral, right? Try to avoid he or she, just be general. Do not forward chain letters. That's not really a very good practice. And of course, avoid sending or forwarding emails that have obscene remarks, that has some kind of racist remarks, and so on. Do not send viruses, especially when you are attaching, when you're using attachments, right? Scan your documents, ensure that they are free of viruses before you send them. Try to bullet and number your work as much as possible. It helps the reader capture very important details of your email. And of course, be responsive and not reactive, right? If you feel frustrated, maybe you're tired, you feel angry, take a walk, have a bite, relax, is when you start writing that particular email or responding to that particular email. Very important. Emails are permanent, they'll always be there. Even if you deleted it from your side, remember, people will always have that particular copy. So before you tap on that send button, ensure that at least you review what you are sending. If you must send an email response ASAP, have someone reread it. That is very important. Avoid attaching unnecessary files. And as I mentioned earlier, try to ensure that the attachment is linked to the message of the email, should be relevant. Be careful with your tone, very, very important. Remember, you are judged by your writing skills. So also ensure that you spice up your writing skills. No text writing, right? Very, very important. And as we progress with understanding this particular essential email etiquette, then we realize that email communication provides a very important platform in engaging with other stakeholders in terms of professionalism that we present. Of course, efficiency that comes with email communication. And when you do it right, it will always protect you from future liability. Maybe if someone is trying to engage you in other conversations that you are not part of. So it's important that you pull that particular email and use it as evidence. So there's an example of how to use passive and active tone in our voice in this particular situation, right? Like for example, if you want to use an active voice, you can say, "We will process your order today." That is a very active voice, right? It sounds even personal. On the other hand, you can use passive voice. Your order will be processed today, right? So always endeavor to use the active voice of a verb wherever possible. We also have a problem when using punctuations. Yeah, emails without full stops or commas. Yeah, they are just like kind of spaghetti characters combined together, right? So it's very difficult to read them, and sometimes causes a lot of confusion in identifying actually the details within this particular email. So we need to do that. Separate also your content in paragraphs forms. Introduce the bullets, the numbers, and so on. Also, careless writing skills will demean your intelligence and integrity. So we gave an example of attending an interview. So if you don't have the correct writing skills, then chances are you could be qualified for the job, but it's your writing skills that will will disqualify you, right? So we also have the unspoken expectations that often comes in handy when looking at the email etiquette. Try to reply this email as early or as fast as possible, particularly within 24 hours. Now, most people, if you can't reply, they normally auto mail or have some autoresponder telling the sender that they are engaged, and they reply after a particular period of time. Of course, also create labels, right? Labels within an email helps you separate or rather organize your emails into some given order, right? Also keep or identify important emails so that you can always give them some quick reference. And of course, use separate accounts for personal and business emails. Like for example, when you're using Gmail, it's a free service from Google. So I don't know why. You can always create 2 or 3. But better still, you can even have one email address but separate them using the various signatures, right? Other unspoken expectations, do not forget to say please, thank you. Be catchers. Your email should not be longer than one screen. Don't broadcast email messages unnecessarily. And of course, remember that once you tap on that send, it's gone, right? And always know that whatever is sent or is posted online is never private after all. So ladies and gentlemen, that's just a quick overview of the various important email etiquette tips that you should actually factor in when you're doing some kind of email communication. I know we have cut or we have mentioned a lot of things, so I hope this particular information is going to be helpful, and should you find it that important, also feel free to share with the rest of your colleagues, your family, and even your supervisor. And most importantly, don't forget to subscribe. All right, thanks.